Okay, I've tried to film this video once. I'm just waffling, so I'm going to start again. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Leanne. This is probably like my second video. I used to have a YouTube channel many moons ago, but I recently started this back up, so I'm probably quite rusty, so I apologise in advance. So today I want to talk about everything to do with hypnobirthing. For some of you, you may have heard about this before. For others, it may be a completely new thing for you. But if you know of anybody that's pregnant or may just be interested, then please send them to this video, because this is all about the techniques I use to birth both my children. I have two children. My eldest is Evelyn and she is 18 months, and then my youngest is Alistair and he is also 4 months. I use hypnobirthing for both my children, and I ended up having two amazing magical births. No drugs at all, completely natural, in water, and honestly they were two of the most fondest memories of my life. That being said, in order to use hypnobirthing techniques, you don't have to have that kind of birth. You could have a C-section, you could have medical intervention. You can still use hypnobirthing techniques in those types of situations. Things happen. Sometimes medical intervention is completely necessary. And I always said, you know, obviously, if you get to that point and you need medical intervention, or you need any sort of aid in any way, then of course, you know, take it. You can still use hypnobirthing in those circumstances, so don't be put off if your birthing plan isn't necessarily what you thought it was going to be. You can still use it. So I haven't got the book here because I've passed it on to a family member who's pregnant, but I use Katharine Graves' hypnobirthing book. I link it down below. It is amazing. It is what I followed for both births. So what I talk about today is her hypnobirthing techniques. I know that a lot of authors, a lot of midwives, etc., do offer different techniques. These are just the ones that I followed and that I found great for me. If you read a hypnobirthing book, because I read a couple, and you find that the methods are maybe not to your liking, try another one, because they can differ and vary so much. So don't give up if you starting to read something and just think, oh, this isn't for me. Also with that, there are so many different methods within hypnobirthing. You don't necessarily have to use them all for hypnobirthing to work for you. I didn't. But with that in mind, also, Katharine Graves' book is very black and white, and she kind of gives you a list of what you need to be practicing every day, every week, etc., which I liked. It was very simple and like kind of a step-by-step process, but still in that, I was able to kind of like pick out what I liked and make it work for me. I'm quickly going to go through kind of like the explanation of what hypnobirthing is. This is my definition from what I gathered from everything. So it might be not necessarily what the perfect definition is out there, but it's mine. So I use hypnobirthing to be able to manage any discomfort that I was feeling, or negative thoughts or anything, throughout not just my birthing process, but also throughout my pregnancy. I used hypnobirthing throughout on both pregnancies. Hypnobirthing uses relaxation techniques, breathing techniques, meditation, wording, music. It uses all sorts of techniques just to be able to help you manage discomfort whilst you're in the birthing process. And like I said, if any anxiety you have throughout your pregnancy, it can also be good for that. And when you're in the birthing process, I'm going to try and explain this in what I've read. Obviously, I'm not a medical expert, so take this with a pinch of salt, but this is just kind of like how I understand it. Hang on, I need a drink. Okay, so when you are in labour, your cervix is obviously dilating. So you have muscles around your uterus which are pulling upwards in a vertical motion, and then you also have horizontal muscles which are pulling outwards, which are enabling your cervix to dilate. That's the easiest way that I can understand it in my head. So you have muscles working upwards and you have muscles working outward. They need to work in harmony, and obviously the more efficiently they work, the quicker you dilate. So in order for these muscles to work effectively, you need to be as relaxed as you possibly can. And the reason for that is there are two nervous systems that you need to be aware of in hypnobirthing. You have the parasympathetic nervous system and you have the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that you need or want to be in whilst you're birthing. This is because when you're in that kind of state, you are relaxed, you're calm, you're conserving energy, It allows the blood to move freely to your muscles in your uterus and allows your body to do what it needs to do. The other nervous system you need to be aware of is the sympathetic nervous system. This system is the nervous system that you are in when you're anxious, when you're uptight, when your body feels like there's danger. So it's basically like the fight or flight response. In that state of mind, your body will send extra blood flow to the muscles that it thinks it needs at that point in time. So your legs, your arms, your brain, etc. So if your body thinks it's going to fight, your body's in that kind of state of mind that something is wrong. And that obviously, for obvious reasons, isn't the state of mind that you need or want to be in when you're giving birth. In order to kind of stay in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we want to be, there are techniques that you can use, which is what hypnobirthing is all about, to keep you in a relaxed state of mind. I'm going to start with one which works for some, may not work for others. Certain parts of it work for me, but not everything. Hypnobirthing talks about changing wording. So I don't know if you've noticed, but throughout this, I've used birthing more than labour. So that's because obviously labour is associated with work. And they say that if you're talking about birthing instead, it's more of an experience. They change the word pain to discomfort or intense, or change contractions to surges or waves. The best way to think of this is that when you are in labour and your birthing partner is in with you, if you are having a surge, also known as a contraction, if they are over you going, are you in pain, are you in pain, your mind is then associating, oh actually yes, I am in pain, this is not good. So instead it's great if your partner is asking, are you comfortable? Was that surge intense? And it kind of just puts you in a different state of mind, and it feels more like, when we spoke like that, it felt more like of a journey rather than kind of like a negative experience that I wanted to get out of quickly. The main technique I use, and again I got this from Katharine Graves' Hypnobirthing book, is the breathing techniques. Now there are some alternatives, as like in terms of like the way the hypnobirthing can teach this. I know there's like a different technique as well that I've read about, but Katharine keeps it simple. So she talks about up breathing and down breathing. When you are in the stage of your labour where your cervix is still dilating, so this is up until the time that you are ready to breathe your baby down, or as you probably know it, to push your baby out, which I will speak about. When you are in that stage of your labour, she talks about up breathing. So for this type of breathing, you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. It is literally that simple. Obviously you want the out breath to be longer if you can. You're trying to focus your mind on something other than kind of like any discomfort you're feeling. Now she talks about up breathing, and she says that when you are using this kind of up breathing throughout that stage of your birth, then you should be visualizing any sort of up image. Now for me, it sounds silly, but it worked. I just visualized when I was breathing in, I visualized blowing up a balloon, and then when I was breathing out, I visualized that balloon going off into a sunset. Sounds crazy, but her kind of thinking is you want to be visualizing that because you want those muscles to be working up and opening your cervix at the same time. So you're kind of working in harmony with your muscles. The second type of breathing is the down breathing. Now this is when, as you may know it, you are pushing your baby out, which is like swear words in hypnobirthing. Instead, we use breathing your baby down. I can honestly say in both labours, I didn't push my baby out at any point. You will know when you get to that stage in your labour. A lot of women ask, how do you know you will be at the stage ready to breathe your baby down? You will just know. You'll go through what is called a transition period. And I was very aware of this. Some women aren't. But when you're fully dilated, you will feel almost, some people feel like a sense of calm. I did. I just felt like, oh, I feel fine. Like, what's happened? Where are my surges gone? Like, what's going on? I felt like, oh, has my labour slowed down? That's what it felt like. And I just felt calm. And then I started trembling. And then all of a sudden I knew. You will feel the urge. That is when you should be practicing your down breathing. And that is in through your nose and out through your nose. And you're just visualizing something going down. So you can visualize, bubbles coming down to the ground, or rain coming down, or a plush waterfall, water coming down a waterfall. There are so many examples that you can find. But that is what it's practicing. Now, this is TMI, but a really good way to practice this down breathing is when you're on the toilet. So if you practice that, that is the feeling that you want to be feeling. You don't want to be pushing. You don't want to be kind of forcing anything. You just want to be feeling like you are visualizing everything moving downward in your body. And that is when your baby will be moving through your birth canal. So another technique that you can use, which I use, are signs. So you can find a lot of these on the internet. I haven't got mine now because I actually give them to the birth centre that I was in when I had Alistair, but I use the same signs for Evelyn and Alistair. You can make them and stick them around the room. People won't laugh at you. It is so common knowledge now to use hypnobirthing. Is, you know, midwives are trained, they understand that women are choosing to use hypnobirthing. So by signs, I mean you need some positive statements that you can look at during the birthing process that can kind of keep you on track. Now, the best way to practice these, I found is to create these signs. I just got like A4 pieces of paper, printed off signs off like the internet, stuck them on and stuck them around my house. And I did that from like 30 weeks onwards. And you're just seeing them going around your house and they're just implanted in your brain, even if you don't think they are. And then when I was ready to go to the birth centre, we took them all off the wall, packed them in my hospital bag, and took them with us and stuck them up all around the room. And it was just another visualization for me. When I felt maybe that I was kind of going off track, I could look at them and they could help. Now, what kind of phrases are you looking at? My body can do this. This won't last forever. My body was made for this. I'm one more surge closer to meeting my baby. I love that one. There are loads. I'll link some below. I'll write a few below that you can use, but obviously you can use your own. Whatever empowers you and makes you feel like I'm strong, I can do this, I've got this. Those are the type of things that you want to be looking at, obviously, during the birthing process. Now, Katharine Graves and most other hypnobirthing techniques talk about relaxation tracks. If you buy Katharine Graves' book, she actually gives you a link to use her relaxation tracks, which I use. Now, these relaxation tracks you can use every day. So I used to use them when I was going to bed on an evening. I used to come up to bed maybe half an hour earlier. I'd pop my MP3, I'd pop my earphones in and I would just listen to a relaxation track per night. And they send you into like deep relaxation. I used to fall asleep on a lot of them. That is fine. If you do that, it's still going in, don't worry. Now, you can get all sorts of themes. You can get ones that talk about visualizations. You can get ones that talk about just kind of like positive thoughts, saying, you know, telling you how you're strong, how you can do this. I think Katharine Graves has 3, which I found really helpful. Now, again, it's such a personal preference with these tracks. You may listen to some and think, what are these? Because I did. But you've got to find some that work for you. And there are millions out there. So just keep looking. You can find a lot of free ones online. Just type in kind of hypnobirthing relaxation tracks. I think YouTube have got a few. So what I found complicated when I was kind of looking into hypnobirthing is what I needed to be doing before I went in, when I was actually birthing, and what parts of it were where, basically. I just felt like I knew I had to do these things, but what was I meant to be doing? And that's when Katharine Graves come in really handy, because she kind of explains it all. But in a nutshell, what you should be practicing before you actually give birth. So you can be doing this early on in your pregnancy throughout. You don't need to be like at a specific date in your pregnancy to start this. I started very, very early on Evelyn. You need to be practicing your breathing techniques. You can do this on a daily basis. You need to also be listening to your relaxation tracks as often as you can. I think I started with every other day, and then as I got closer, I kind of like ranked it up a little. When you're ready to birth your baby, the main thing you will be using is your breathing techniques. Now, this is why hypnobirthing needs to be practiced, because by the time you get to that point, you should be at a stage where those breathing techniques come absolutely natural to you. You shouldn't be going in to your birth thinking, right, I need to do this, I need to do this. It will come natural if you have practiced it enough. In order to really understand what you need to be doing with your breathing techniques, please read the book. But like I said, in a nutshell, it's the up and down breathing that you need to be practicing, and you can do that as many times a day as you like. Now, I just want to talk about like a couple of other things that I found helpful. So the first one is a music playlist. Now, a lot of women opt to take in their relaxation tracks and listen to them throughout their birth. I didn't. What I prefer to do is I still listen to my relaxation tracks very, very often. But when it came to my actual birth, I put on a normal playlist that I had made of all songs that were emotional or meant a lot to me. In fact, if you want, I can list some of the songs below, but they have to be very, very personal to you. And what I did is I started this as early on as I possibly can remember, and I actually used the same playlist for both children. I just added a few tracks. So like on Spotify or whatever music app you use, just create a playlist early on in your pregnancy, and whenever you hear a song you think, oh, that gives you shivers, you know, those goosebumps, or it just makes you feel good, or it just makes you feel emotional and you've just empowered, pop it in your playlist, download it, make sure you download it offline on your phone just in case you haven't got signal in the hospital or birth centre, so you can listen to it throughout your birth. If that's what you decide to do, it definitely helped me. Other things that help me, which aren't necessarily hypnobirthing, but they are kind of related and I think go hand in hand, is that I kept up my exercise routine, obviously a routine that was pregnancy safe, throughout my pregnancy. I made sure I was healthy, I stayed mobile. I really think that helped me immensely with my actual births. I had a water birth, which I spoke about, which really helped with the discomfort. As soon as I got into that water, it just felt like I'd had an epidural. Like the discomfort went from like 10 to like 2, literally. It was amazing. The other thing which I want to talk about, which I'm not going to go into too much, you can look it up yourself, is perineal massage. This massively helped me. I did it with both children, but I had no tears at all on my second child, and he was 9 pounds, so I honestly think it did help. Look it up, your partner can help you with it. Do that as often as you can. There is research to say it doesn't help. I personally think it helped, so I think it's definitely worth checking out. Another thing that really helped me, which I should have spoke about earlier on, but really helped the whole process, and I would really recommend it, is that you need to kind of set the scene. So when my surgery started happening, I was in the house both times. I kind of drew the curtains, I made it all dark. With Evelyn, I birthed in the night, so it was a lot easier. James lit some candles, I put my music on, I got on my birthing ball, and I just got into the state of mind of using my breathing techniques, kind of getting in myself and just focusing. And I kept that up throughout getting in the car because it was dark with Evelyn, and then until I got to the birth centre. With Alistair, I birthed in the day, so it was a little bit harder, but I did the same thing in the house. I left my earphones in my ear, I got into the car, and I didn't take those earphones off until I'd walked through the hospital, in the lift, and into the birth centre. And I know that around me it was a full-blown working hospital. It was very busy, and I just felt like that kept me in the zone, just keeping my music in my ears. I didn't even look straight, like James just guided me through the hospital. I just went for it. It's all about just kind of setting that scene in your head, just getting you into a relaxed state of mind. So lastly, I want to say, like I said at the beginning, yes, I had a lovely birth in terms of the fact that it was completely natural and it was a water birth, but please don't let it put you off if your birth doesn't go to plan. You can still use these techniques, you can still have your music in your ears to a certain extent, you can still be practicing your breathing, you can still keep those positive thoughts in your head, you can still do the majority of hypnobirthing, if not all of it. So those are my techniques and tips and tricks that I use throughout my birthing experience. I really hope they help, because they absolutely helped me. Please check out the book. I will link it below, because that is what I use and I honestly would swear by it. And yeah, that is it. So I hope this was helpful for you or for anyone you know. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.